This is a Dragon Blazer production, and I am the little boogeyman.
Right. Coming down the aisle, it's the podcast tag team champions of the world, the Rage and Blaze Show. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Rage and Blaze Show. I'm Rage.
And I'm Blaze.
And today we're really excited. We get to move on to the biggest party of the summer. We are going to be starting Summerslam 1988. There's been some great SummerSlam matches in the past. Yeah, the biggest one I can think of is Icon versus Icon when Shawn Michaels took on Hulk Hogan. This is also the event where we originally got the very first ever TLC match with the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, and the Hardy Boys. What do you think of when you think of the SummerSlam?
I think that it's one of the biggest events of the summer. Great shows. I can't think of any major matches that I liked from it. It's my least favorite of these four, but it's still a great show.
Yeah, it's kind of like the summer version of WrestleMania. There's no real big major stipulation like Royal Rumble. You get a Royal Rumble match every year. Survivor Series, you get usually the 4-on-4. They've sometimes done 5-on-5 match Survivor Series matches. And SummerSlam's just kind of like, well, you got WrestleMania, which is the Super Bowl, and then you got SummerSlam, which is maybe the what's it called? The where they go to Hawaii.
The Pro Bowl?
The Pro Bowl.
I would not even come close to comparing SummerSlam to the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl, half the people don't watch. Nobody even tries. It's way bigger than the Pro Bowl.
Fair enough. Maybe this
is the college football playoffs.
Or the national championship.
The national championship, yeah. Which is just a slight step down from the Super Bowl. I mean, it's a lot bigger than the Pro Bowl. Half the people in the world don't care. They've considered getting rid of the Pro Bowl because half the people in the world don't care about it.
Fair enough.
That is an unfair comparison.
It was a bad comparison. I was trying to stick with NFL.
I know. I'm saying that SummerSlam is my least favorite, but that's like saying that's my least favorite child. It's still great. Comparably, through all these pay-per-views that we're watching, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, and Survivor Series, all four of these are great. I'm just saying, if I have to put them in order, SummerSlam's my least favorite, but that doesn't mean it's a bad show.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad show. It was a bad comparison. I was just trying to stick with the NFL. I suppose I just kind of... I don't know. It was just kind of like trying to compare, well, there's the Super Bowl and then what's next and maybe playoffs.
Or World Series if we stick.
Well, I was trying to stick with the NFL is what I was trying to do. And Pro Bowl was the next big event where they all get together, I guess. It was a bad idea.
It was a terrible comparison. Terrible comparison.
I apologize for the comparison. But today we get to move on to the very first SummerSlam, August 29th, 1988. The Mega Powers are going to take on the Mega Bucks. So we still have that continued rivalry with Hulk Hogan and the $1 Million Man and Andre the Giant. And we're going to add Randy Savage to that whole mix. So this should be a fun one. I'm not 100% sure what other matches we have in store for us. Because, to be honest, I don't think I've ever watched this SummerSlam. I mean, SummerSlam's one of them. SummerSlam's one of them shows that I watched when I, watching wrestling on a regular basis. I would watch SummerSlam just because I was the type that, well, and we ordered the Big Four. and we would always sometimes get together to watch the Big Four, with WrestleMania always throwing a huge party and a big get-together for WrestleMania, but we would always order the Big Four. We might not ever order the in-between pay-per-views, but we would always get the Big Four, unless there was a major deal match going on at one of the other pay-per-views. I remember when ECW One Night Stand hit, got together with my buddies, we were like, we have to watch this one, and they tore the house down for that. That first ECW One Night Stand was really special. The second one was really good too, but that first one just seemed to be really special. So that was kind of our watching of pay-per-views. It wasn't like today where you literally, as long as you got the WWE network, you can watch every pay-per-view, which is mind-boggling to me. When they decided to do that, it was just a huge deal.
Yeah, I currently watch every one that comes out. Got the WWE.
Why wouldn't you?
And now I review them, so I definitely watch them now. So
yeah, and why wouldn't you? If you get to see every pay-per-view, that is like growing up as a wrestling fan. That was the dream come true, but until a certain year, I mean, I've probably seen every SummerSlam up to a certain year, but these early SummerSlams, I don't think I've ever watched.
Yeah, you didn't buy a box set on these.
Yeah, no, I bought the WrestleMania box set. I don't know if they ever came out with a collection.
Oh, I'm sure they
of
did.
SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series. I'd have to look into that, but I remember for Christmas one year getting the WrestleMania box set, so I've kind of revisited those. So it's really going to be fun to go back and revisit some of these shows that I've never even seen before. Probably heard of a match here and there. You know, I'm looking forward to, I know SummerSlam is where we get Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. I'm sure that's going to be an amazing match. Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. That's going to be a great match. So there's been some iconic matches that I'm aware of. It's just going to be fun to actually get to sit and watch these matches. I can't wait. This is going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
Let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so the first thing I noticed about SummerSlam is it started off really quick. They had like a short little, I don't want to call them pictures, but they were kind of moving pictures.
Yeah, there was an intro video that was...
it wasn't really a video. It was...
well, yeah, it was like... they showed like a recording of different wrestlers showing up and then posing, and then... the weird one was Miss Elizabeth just looking around scared for some reason. So, it was a video package. It was an intro video package.
But after this little package, which didn't last very long, they literally jumped right into the match. You know, kind of WrestleMania, we get a lot of stuff going on before we start the show. This one, they just dove right into it.
With that video package, I kind of felt like they're starting to really hit their stride, and this is feeling bigger. It's like they already realized that SummerSlam is going to be a big deal, where with WrestleMania, it didn't feel like that through the entire show.
Yeah. So, first match we get is a tag team match. The British Bulldogs with Davey Boy Smith and the Dynamite Kid versus the Fabulous Rougeau brothers. Jacques and Raymond Rougeau. So this was a pretty good match. It was back and forth. Not one team had the upper hand for the whole match. The Rougeaus was doing more submission moves and kind of wearing down the knees and stuff like that, where the British Bulldogs was more high octane and strength and stuff like that. But it really was a pretty well done match, I thought. The only thing weird about it was that this is the very first match in SummerSlam history, and it ends in a draw because the time limit was reached. This match lasted 20 minutes, and they couldn't finish the match. So they're definitely building up a feud between these two teams, but it was just kind of weird that it just kind of ended, you know?
Yeah, we didn't really get We didn't get a story of what brought these two. It wasn't a tag team title match or anything.
We didn't get promos before the match. We didn't get any kind of backstory. But you can definitely tell in the match there felt to be a little bit of bad blood going on between these two teams.
Yeah, I guess I was not a fan. It was the match quality, everyone was decent in it and everything, but I feel like it went on way too long. I feel like time limit expired. It was a really weird ending maybe there was a storyline that we're not aware of that happened, but they didn't tell us anything about the story going up to this match. We didn't get that package, which they have done in the past. So we know that they have done that kind of thing with these pay-per-views. The ending was weird. That would make more sense if it was like a heel and they don't win the tag team titles because the time expired. It's a weird end, a long match. Felt like it dragged a little too much. I don't know. It wasn't like the match itself was bad, like we had bad competitors or anything. I feel like the story they told made very little sense. And
it just lacked a completion, a finish, any kind of conclusion.
It lacked a finish. It lacked any kind of exciting spot. Can you think of anything that happened in this match?
Biggest thing I noticed is Davey Boy had one of the Rougeau brothers up, and it almost looked like he accidentally dropped him onto the ropes. Maybe that was the goal. It almost felt like he dropped him.
In my opinion, the most interesting thing was literally the end. The way I thought it was going to end would have been kind of cool. The British Bulldogs, I believe Davey Boy Smith picked up, and
Dynamite Kid.
Yeah, Dynamite Kid, and then threw him on one of the Rougeau brothers.
It almost looked like a flying headbutt.
Yeah, it was a flying headbutt, but his partner actually tossed him on there. So it looked like that was going to how it was going to end, but the ref just rings the bell and it's time expired, and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, it was very odd. So, we don't really see time limit draws happen very often in today's wrestling. I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen it. Well,
we've seen it.
Well, we saw it in the tournament, and that made a little bit more sense. It's a tournament.
It's a tournament, and it took both of them out. And I think if we look back at that was because they only have so much time for WrestleMania, and
adding another. They probably only have so much time for SummerSlam.
Yeah, but you know what?
It was just odd. It was an odd decision to make the match.
My point for the time limit there that I was trying to point out is making that one a draw where you take out both competitors means you have one less match to do
for the tournament. I got you.
You drop the matches with a story, so that one was fine for me. That one made sense. This one made no sense. I didn't understand the point of the end. And then we have the Ragu brothers cheap shotting the Bulldogs, and they're running away like little bitches. I mean, that's how we end it.
Fair enough. It was definitely odd. I mean, like I said, I think it was a well worked match, just no conclusion.
It reinforces my thought process of that the Rougeau brothers are just not that interesting. There's a reason I think nobody remembers them in history.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on from this match and see what the next match has in store for us. Okay, so before the start of the next match, we get a video package. Apparently, the Outlaw Ron Bass attacked Brutus the Barber Beefcake on WWF Superstars, and they even show a little X with, it says censored, because Brutus is getting bloodied. But it was kind of funny because I mean, it's only an X covering the screen, so if Brutus's head moved one way or the other, you still see the blood.
There's a little bit of trickling somewhere there.
So, I mean, you still see the blood. But during this video package, one of the things I wanted to point out is we got our first glimpse of the Rockers. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty came out to get Ron Bass out of there, and I believe I saw Coco Beware came out, but they had that censor thing on, so it was kind of hard to tell who all you saw, but in between the little X, you could kind of see certain wrestlers. But they said that Brutus the Barber Beefcake was supposed to meet the Honky Tonk Man for the Intercontinental Championship, and unfortunately, he was not able to compete based off of doctor's orders because of this attack from the Outlaw Ron Bass. So I'm not 100% sure the storyline there, why Ron Bass attacked him, what was going on there, but they informed us of that before our next match. In our next match, we get Bad News Brown versus Ken Patera, just a singles match. Didn't notice any kind of storyline. Matter of fact, we kind of pointed out that they didn't even tell us Ken Patera's name.
No. He got entrance music, though.
Yeah, he had entrance music, but he kind of ran into the ring, and then the match kind of started almost immediately. And this match was kind of riddled with a lot of botches and mistakes, and I think this is...
I think the word you're looking for, Rage, is terrible. This match was terrible.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of bright spots in this match. We kind of pointed out during this match while watching it that there was a bear hug that went on, and a bear hug is kind of a move that I don't think we really see in modern wrestling today.
And for good reason.
Yeah, it's kind of a dull move. But to be honest, it was kind of weird seeing a regular-sized guy versus a regular-sized guy doing a bear hug. Like, we saw Andre the Giant do a bear hug to Hulk Hogan in WrestleMania 3, and I think they sold it really well. But you also have a giant doing it to a smaller wrestler. Not that I'm saying Hulk Hogan's small, but it just kind of looked brutal, and Hogan really kind of sold the pain of this bear hug. This was not the case in this match. It just looked like two guys were giving each other a hug.
Yeah, Bad News Brown just seemed sleepy.
Yeah, and then we also got an Irish whip that prompted boos from the crowd.
Oh, because Bad News Brown missed the corner. He got Irish whipped into the ring, the ropes instead of the corner. It was.
Yeah, and he didn't really run to it either. It was almost like a speed walk to the ropes. He didn't even go to the corner, and
a nice
immediately the crowd booed this Irish whip move because it just went off so poorly.
There
so
really
then they
should
did
have
it
been
again,
more boos.
Yeah, they did it again. They did another Irish whip, and then that one kind of set up the end of the match, which it looked a lot better. And that was Patera Irish whipped Bad News Brown into the corner. Patera then ran after him, almost like charging him into the corner, and he hit his shoulder on the thing, and then. Then we get this amazing finishing move by Bad News Brown.
The Ghetto Blaster.
Which was, the Ghetto Blaster, which is basically a drop kick to the back of the head.
Not even that. It was just like, he doesn't drop kick him with his, the bottom of his feet.
Yeah, it's like a kick,
it was like
kick
he
in the
just kind of it looked weird.
It was a very awkward move, a finishing move, and we were both kind of alarmed when we saw that the move's called the Ghetto Blaster.
Yeah, they're just Bad News Brown got the Ghetto Blaster.
And everybody's, the announcers are kind of announcing it like this is normal. I'm like, well.
This was bad all the way around.
Yes.
With the Bad News Brown's finisher to insert generic Olympian guy here. I'm sorry, Ken Patera.
No, well, he not generic Olympian guy. I looked it up. He actually was in the Olympics in the strongman competition. So he must have been a weightlifter in the Olympics and stuff. So I mean, essentially, this is
well, he's no Kurt Angle.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, Kurt Angle actually he wrestled in the Olympics, but it just kind of goes to show that Kurt Angle wasn't the first Olympian.
I
to
guess
go to pro
technically
wrestling.
the better comparison, if he was the strongman, not actually in wrestling in the Olympics, better comparison would be Mark Henry. Mark Henry was a strongman. I don't think he did
in the Olympics.
I don't know if
though.
he did it in the Olympics. I don't
think
think
he was
did.
just world's strongest man. I think it was a strongman competition.
Yeah.
But this guy, I looked it up. He actually was in the Olympics. I don't know how good he did. I don't think he was a
I hope he did
gold
better
medalist
than in this
that won the
match.
Olympics with a broken freaking neck. But I guess they all can't be Kurt Angle. But I don't even remember Ken Patera. I don't remember him at all. I
don't want to remember.
I remember Bad News. I vaguely remember Bad News Brown. I remember him being around. But Ken Patera, I don't even know if I've ever heard of him, which is odd. So it'd just kind of be interesting to kind of look that up and see how long he lasted in the WWF. Because, I mean, this is SummerSlam, one of their big fours. I don't even recognize the guy.
I wasn't happy with either one of these guys.
Yeah, so this was a pretty bad match, and it probably is leading the pack, and I would assume lead the pack the whole night for worst match of the night.
Well, we'll see.
So we'll see. So far, I mean,
they can step it up because I was all bound and determined that first weird ending first match was going to be my worst match of the night. Then this one came in and was like, hold my beer. Let me do shittier than that one.
Well, in that first match, I don't know if it was a bad match. I think it just went on too long and it had a bad conclusion. This was legitimately the definition of a bad match.
This is the match that if I hated wrestling, this is why.
Yeah, you're not.
This is the match where it's like, hey, you want to know why I hate wrestling? Watch this.
Yeah, you're not going to show this to a new time person that has never watched wrestling and sell them on the sport of wrestling
unless they really like to make fun of bad wrestling.
Yeah, this is definitely not a shining moment.
My sister would love it.
Okay, so next thing we get is a promo with the Mega Powers. Mean Gene Okerlund is interviewing Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. And this is just a very fun, energetic, just shows you why he was such a legend. You know, I've been posting things.
You mean Macho Man?
I'm referring to both, but I'm kind of wanting to talk about Hogan here because, you know, I've been posting things on some different wrestling sites with the history of wrestling and everything. And every time something comes up that I have to put Hogan in the history, it's a very split down the middle. People either love him or hate him. And I get it. In today's wrestling standards, Hogan doesn't do any of the kind of stuff that your modern wrestler does. But you watch these old WrestleManias, these old SummerSlams, and you see these promos he cut, and you see the fan reactions. He gets the biggest pop.
Oh no, everybody loved Hogan.
Any wrestler in history. And I think a lot of modern wrestling fans don't really acknowledge or respect that. But the man literally put wrestling on his back and turned it into what it is today. He is the reason a lot of us got into watching wrestling. He was such a polarizing figure. And it's promos like this that just show you in a lackluster SummerSlam so far, we've had two matches that were just kind of ho-hum.
And one was bad.
And all of a sudden you get this promo from Hogan and he just lightens up the whole thing. You know, he's given 110% on a show that just doesn't seem to be having that much steam. And it just shows how amazing of an entertainer he really was.
Well, I've had a lot of my criticisms of Hogan, obviously. Mind you, a lot of them have been more on Andre's side. And the thing with Hogan is, especially now, I can look at Hogan and I can see the positives and I can see the negatives. Positives, he is fantastic on the mic. He brings the energy, he brings the crowd. His posing, his ring work when it comes to like pandering to the crowd in the match, after the match, before the match, second to none. He was amazing at it. The problems with Hogan he's not the greatest wrestler. He's not great in the ring with the actual moves. He doesn't have a lot of moves. He kind of does the same stuff, but he keeps it entertaining with his posing and he tells a story. And that's where Hogan really shines. And he was the biggest thing in wrestling back there. Now, even when I was a kid, Hogan was never my favorite. I don't know if I had as big of an issue with Hogan as rewatching this, I am getting a little bit more appreciation for Hogan. I still have my same complaints, my same criticisms, but I'm also seeing the good, where before we started doing this podcast, his goods I didn't really see as much. I don't remember them as much. I was a Warrior fan when I was a kid. Yeah, I liked Warrior. He was the one that was a lot of fun for me.
And the funny thing is, and I think you'll remember this, because as a kid, I think Warrior was fun. But wait till they hand a microphone to the Warrior.
We'll see.
And we'll see how much you appreciate him as a modern wrestling fan. Because a lot of those complaints you just mentioned, I think is a modern wrestling fan mentality. And I think when wrestling was more a simpler entertainment than it is now, where it's a lot more complex. The people expect a lot more spectacular moves. Definitely weapons have become more and more involved, and high flying and stuff like that. I think a lot of guys like Hogan is just kind of a product of his era. And,
that could be fair, but at the same time, rewatching this, I'm seeing people like Macho Man Randy Savage, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I'm seeing amazing wrestlers. $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. I'm seeing some guys that they aren't as flashy, obviously, of what we have today. I mean, it keeps innovating. It keeps getting better. They keep doing amazing feats nowadays. But that's going to happen as something progresses. You're going to have stuff that wasn't done back then because it wasn't invented yet. It wasn't there.
Is it fair to say that Macho Man doesn't get the same criticism as Hogan because his in-ring ability? Because really,
his in-ring ability matches.
Yeah, and that's what I'm
skills.
saying is you see the Mega Powers and you see them both talking. And you see both of them as energetic as anybody in the business. And you actually see both of their faces just get red. Definitely Macho Man. But Macho Man looks like he has a sunburn every time he starts talking, and his veins in his neck pop out while he's talking. And to be honest, I've never really noticed how similar they are energetic-wise on the mic and everything. But Macho Man was just head over heels better in the ring, I believe, than Hogan ever was. But both of them
obviously he doesn't wrestle as much now, but
both of them are just amazing characters. So it just kind of, seeing them together as the Mega Powers, I think was a perfect fit.
Now, when I was really young, when I first started wrestling, I don't believe that I loved Warrior, and I don't believe that I really appreciated Macho Man back then either. Later on, I started appreciating Macho Man, but the first time I started watching wrestling, I was really, really young, and it was in the 80s. I believe it was like 88, 89.
Yeah, it was around this ballpark area where I believe we were introduced to wrestling.
Our boomer listener
Yes.
kind of got us into wrestling when we were really, really young. I don't think I appreciated a lot of these. I don't think I appreciated $1 Million Man until later on in life. Now, I liked $1 Million Man. I've liked him throughout the years, but when I was real young, I didn't recognize all this. But nowadays, I'm appreciating him even more.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next match. We have Ravishing Rick Rude versus the JYD Junkyard Dog. Both men come out to music. Ravishing Rick Rude gets the microphone and starts talking. But I believe he called the people in the crowd inner city sweat hogs.
Yeah, fat and ugly.
Fat and ugly. And he comes out. This is great. He comes out wearing trunks. Well, not trunks. They're, I guess, pants with
tights.
Tights. Yeah, I'm sorry. He comes out wearing tights with a Junkyard Dog's face on them, on both backside and front side.
He had Junkyard Dog on his dick. Right there on his dick and his ass.
And I believe one of the commentators, maybe Gorilla Monsoon or Superstar Billy Graham, I can't remember which one said it, but one of them said, yeah, it's a good thing he's wearing those tights because JYD's going to be all over him on this match. And I'm like, that's like a beautiful comment for wearing these tights. It was kind of a perfect segue to get there. So then we get music for the JYD. He comes out and immediately, you see the tights with the picture of him, immediately starts going after Rick Rude. And we get the on all four headbutts. Right away, at the very beginning of the match. And this match started off high octane energy. They really helped that whole, like JYD's a little pissed off that, he can see his face on his dick. So this was a fantastic match.
Yeah, we finally are stepping it up.
Oh, this was such a fun match. So we had a lot of good spots from both guys. The beginning of the match, really, JYD just handed it to Rick Rude until Rick Rude finally got the upper hand a little bit, but then this one went back and forth. And the topping on the cake of this match is Rick Rude. He is so savage. He is so savage. He pulls down the JYD tights to reveal Jake the Snake Roberts' wife on a second pair of tights.
On his dick.
On his dick. So he jumps off the top rope, does a simple kind of flying fist.
He does that. It's like a fist to the head.
Yeah, just a jump off the top rope, fist to the head while JYD was on the ground. But immediately after he's revealing these tights,
and
Jake the Snake Roberts
in the ring.
Jake the Snake Roberts runs down the ramp, or the aisleway. I guess they don't have ramps quite yet. That's something kind of to point out. We haven't had a ramp like we get today.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Jake Snake comes out and starts beating up on Rick Rude until he flies out of the ring and hightails it out with Bobby the Brain Heenan, which we didn't even point out Bobby the Brain Heenan was in Rick Rude's corner. So I apologize about that. But so then you got a kind of a little stare down between JYD and Jake the Snake, where Jake the Snake was kind of trying to, I apologize, because they announced the winner of the match is Ravishing Rick Rude due to disqualification.
Yeah, this was fantastic.
This was so great. I loved this.
This is great. I love Ravishing Rick Rude. He is, oh my gosh, he'd be the ultimate internet troll.
Oh my gosh, he
fantastic.
So before his time.
Oh my
If you really think about it. I mean, just the things that he's doing, he's just, this is kind of stuff that would happen in the Attitude Era, and maybe today's wrestling too, but this felt more like something that would happen around DX era, that kind of stuff.
Had his opponent.
Where he literally comes out wearing tights of his opponent, and then he has a second pair of tights with another man's wife's face on his tights. How great do you get?
It is so terribly amazing.
You will never be as cool or as savage as Ravishing Rick Rude wearing the tights of his... Well, I would say opponent, but I guess it'd be...
I'm guessing it was a rival. I'm guessing they had a rivalry.
There must have been a rivalry, which kind of pointed us to, as much as this SummerSlam becomes the Big Four, isn't it kind of odd to see he's fighting JYD in this? I love the match. The match is great.
I'm sure there's a story to it that we don't know, but it still told a good story. It was still so much fun. And you know what? Rage, I don't understand. I feel like those tights were high praise. Why were they so mad? I don't get it. That was high praise. He thought your wife was so beautiful, he put them on his dick. Where's the problem here?
I'll tell you what. The only way this could have been more savage if it wasn't a picture of her face as opposed just the back of her head. I think that would have been the only thing that could have been more savage.
I don't know if WWF was at the point where they were willing to do.
This wasn't even the Attitude Era. This, where
that would have been a little too much. They jumped in rating,
yeah. So this was very family friendly.
There would have been a lot of complained mothers in that arena.
So I don't know if this SummerSlam can get better than this, because this was amazing.
This was great.
This was probably my favorite moment, I think, so far of doing this podcast. This was generally just, I loved it. I mean,
my gosh.
Okay, so we're gonna move on from this, but
I think we just need to say one thing, to quote Wayne's World: Ravishing Rick Rude.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy! Oh, man, this guy is amazing.
A legend!
Okay, here we go. Okay, so we get a Honky Tonk Man promo with Mean Gene Okerlund, and this is, just kind of talking about, he doesn't even know who his opponent is tonight. That was kind of interesting to find out, due to Brutus the Barber Beefcake getting injured. So he doesn't even know who his opponent is, and in, typical heel fashion, he doesn't care, he'll beat anybody, he says. So then the next match we get is, first off we get the Bolsheviks, which is Nikolai Volkov and, Boris Zukov. Yeah. And they are accompanied with Slick, and of course we get Nikolai Volkov doing the Russian national anthem. But I don't know, did he ever finish this national anthem? Because the music plays for the next team, and they interrupt him, and I think that was kind of the shtick, was everybody would interrupt this national anthem. He would never get through this whole thing. I don't know if he ever did, to be honest. So the music starts playing, and here comes the Powers of Pain. The Barbarian and the Warlord with the Baron in their corner. And these guys come out high octane. This is a fun match. I had fun in this match. There wasn't any major spots, but it was just fast paced, and it was just a fun match to watch. I know the Barbarian had a really good power slam on Nikolai Volkov at one point that I thought was just looked brutal. But we have to just kind of discuss how similar these guys are to, at the time, the Road Warriors, which later on becomes Legion of Doom.
Oh no, they were. They were dollar store Legion of Doom. I mean, these guys, they are the one guy comes out and he's got a horseshoe haircut where he's bald on the top and the sides are there, and he's got black and red half and half color of his hair, and then you have what was the manager's name?
Oh, the Baron.
The Baron comes out with his Spirit Halloween costume. Yeah. I mean, these were cheap ripoffs. They were made in China, and I mean, it was a fine match, I guess. They were fine in the ring, but yeah, their look was pretty generic. And
you call them dollar store ripoffs of the Road Warriors. And to be honest, they probably was. That's what the WWF was probably. Because I believe at this time, the Road Warriors would have been in WCW. So this is probably definitely their, kind of answer to the popularity of the Road Warriors. But, having said that, I thought it was a fun match, and they were really good. They were good at what they did.
It wasn't an offensive match.
They wasn't a bad carbon copy. I mean, you could tell that's what they were going for, but these guys were high octane. They were fun. I didn't have a problem with them. How about that?
It was better than all the other matches, excluding the last one we just watched.
The Rick Rude match. That's going to be hard to top. That was such a fun match. It's so savage, but
this match looks really good in comparison to what we've seen.
Yeah. So far, this SummerSlam is picking up. We've had 2 really good matches, the last 2, and then the Powers of Pain get the win. They do a double team move, and then the Barbarian comes off the top rope with a flying headbutt, and they finish off the match. But they look just so good and dominant doing it. So, and they even mention at the end of the match, we can't wait till this team meets Demolition. So, they kind of point that out that, there's going to be a feud between. So I really, really hope we get to see that. Powers of Pain versus Demolition. I haven't looked ahead to the next show, but we got Survivor Series coming up. Then we've got Royal Rumble WrestleMania. So hopefully we get a chance to see this. Hopefully it doesn't happen on WWF Superstars or whatever the show's at the time. So I'd really think that would be a fun match to watch. I really do. So anyhow, I liked this match. It was a very good tag team match. Did kind of somewhat feel like a squash match, though, just because I don't know how much the Bolsheviks got in. It really felt like it was dominated by the Powers of Pain immediately from the get-go. It didn't feel
quite like a squash match, but it was definitely. It seemed like it was Vince trying to show that we can compete with the Legion of Doom.
They were trying to show excitement to these guys. They were
trying to build them up.
Yeah, build momentum for this team. But yeah, it wasn't quite as. We've seen squash matches that's lasted only a couple minutes. This lasted longer.
Those are typically squash matches.
But this definitely was mostly one-sided. So it was a 5.5-minute match. But I had a lot of fun with it, even though it's you go to the supermarket and you can either buy the name brand or you can buy the Walmart True Value, Great Value brand. This was the Great Value brand.
You can either have a Pepsi or a Faygo.
Yeah, no, come on. Don't be dissing Faygo. But no, this is what that felt like is, you didn't want to pay the price for the top-notch brand, so you get the off-brand, but it did for the night. It was good enough for the night. You know what I mean?
Sorry for offending the juggalos.
Juggalos. Faygo. Okay, so, alright, so let's see what we got ahead. So the next thing we get in this SummerSlam is a segment of Brother Love coming out. The ring's all red, and there's music playing in the background during this whole thing. He's out there kind of talking like he's at church or something.
He's a TV evangelist.
Yeah, is what he is. He's a TV evangelist. So anyhow, he comes out here and he says he has a special guest, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
No. Brother Hacksaw Jim Duggan!
Fair enough. So, Brother Duggan, or as Brother Love liked to call him, Brother Dugan, he comes out here, and Brother Love starts talking, and Hacksaw's kind of, you can see the ADHD coming in Hacksaw, where he's not really paying attention, kind of pandering to the crowd, holding the 2x4, pretending to use it as a shotgun, kind of sticking his tongue out, looking at people and holding the thumbs up, like he's really, doesn't look like he's paying attention to what Brother Love's saying at all. So, anyhow, this segment, I don't know, it just didn't really do much positive or negative for the show. It was just kind of an odd segment. And you know what really bothered me on the segment is even when Duggan started talking, there was music playing the whole time. And even after Duggan kind of got to his boiling point and threatened to hit Brother Love with the 2x4, and Brother Love hightailed it out, they didn't play Hacksaw's music or anything. They kept this, church background music going. It was just kind of
the type of music you'd hear with a TV evangelist.
I know, but it was just weird that they just kept that music going during the whole thing. Even after Duggan, did what he did, you just had this music playing. It was just an odd segment.
Trying to take you to church.
So anyhow, finally, after that, hopefully we're about to get a match here. Okay, so the next match is you have the Honky Tonk Man coming out to the ring with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, and he still doesn't know who his opponent is. So he's out there, shaking, jiving, and rolling and all that stuff. And here comes the iconic music. I believe this is the first time in our podcast we have heard the Ultimate Warrior's music. And he comes running down the ring and jumps down off the ropes, and he immediately starts taking it to the Honky Tonk Man. And this match, let me get the official word. This match lasted all but 31 seconds. There was a clothesline, there was a flying shoulder, and there was the Ultimate Warrior's the big splash. And 1, 2, 3, and new WWF Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, this was once again, we don't get to see Ultimate Warrior properly showcase his skills because he just came in and was done in 31 seconds. But it was fun. I mean, it's kind of an interesting story to tell when you have the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time.
Yeah, so
his loss is a squash match.
So yeah, it's like you just said, this is the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. The Honky Tonk Man held it for 454 days. So that's a little shy of a year and a half. The Honky Tonk Man held this title, and just within 31 seconds, the Ultimate Warrior, it was a squash match. But they treated it not like a squash match. They treated it like a caught off guard,
yeah, they
high
treated
octane,
it
just
like
happened,
he didn't know who
boom.
his opponent was going to be. He wasn't expecting someone as energetic and good as the Ultimate Warrior to come down there and just...
Yeah, and this was supposed to be the Brutus the Beefcake match. So we don't know the backstory there. We'd have to, do some digging. We don't know why Brutus was removed from this match. Obviously, they show us on screen he was removed from the match just because of some injury that he sustained from the Outlaw Ron Bass. But we don't know the real story, why we don't know what happened there. Okay, so first thing we get when we come back to SummerSlam is actually a redo of the same little stop animation video they did at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, we get and it's no different. It's the exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing. It's almost like we're at the halfway point of SummerSlam, so we're going to redo this little intro for whatever reason in the middle of the show. So we get that, and then the next thing we get is Bobby the Brain Heenan. He goes up to the broadcast booth, and he joins Gorilla Monsoon and Superstar Billy Graham up there. And so now we get the next match, which is between Dino Bravo with Frenchie and The Rock Don Morocco. So this match was okay. Nothing. There was no overly exciting stuff going on. It wasn't a bad match. There was no botches.
News Brown and
it wasn't a bad match. It just wasn't memorable. Wasn't very exciting. Frenchie Martin gets involved and costs Don Morocco the win. So obviously Dino doesn't get a clean victory. You know, he's a heel, so that's typical. So that's how this one ends. What'd you think?
Yeah, we've been seeing these guys quite a bit in our rewatch podcast, and neither one of them are super impressive. I haven't enjoyed them anytime they've been on the screen. They're not like terrible. They're kind of big dudes.
Yeah,
like not height wise, but like
just nothing super memorable, super exciting.
They were calling Dino Bravo the strongest guy from Canada.
Yeah,
he
Canadian,
does look like a big guy.
Canadian strongest man, I think they said. So after the match, we get a interview with Jesse the Body Ventura. Apparently, he is the special guest referee for tonight's main event against the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks. And they didn't show us any footage, but they talked about apparently Ted DiBiase stuffed money in his pocket.
And Jesse the Body Ventura rightfully said, hey, if you want to give me money, I'll take the money.
Yeah, I'm not a fool, he said. I'm not a fool. Somebody going to give me money? I'm going to take it.
I mean,
so
do you blame him?
You know, it's just they're building up the idea that this match is probably already fixed before it is. So we'll see what happens.
Which really leads me to believe that Jesse is going to cheat for Hogan and Macho. I
don't know if he'll cheat, but I think he's going to. It kind of reminds me of Mike Tyson with Shawn Michaels when Stone Cold Steve Austin took Shawn Michaels, and the whole match build up. He was the special enforcer, but he was wearing a DX shirt and everything. And then in the end, he screwed Shawn Michaels, and he counted the pin for Stone Cold and celebrated with Stone Cold. It kind of reminds me of that. Maybe they're kind of building it up to where Jesse's going to do something bad, but yet I think he'll probably flip it and handle the business. But
yeah.
Once again, I don't recall the results of this SummerSlam, so it'll be interesting to see if we're right,
I have no idea.
If we're wrong. So, all right. Okay, so in the next match, we get a tag team match for the WWF Tag Team Championships. It's going to be the champions Demolition, Axe, and Smash, accompanied by Mr. Fuji and the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, versus the Hart Foundation, Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. This was a pretty good tag team match.
Yeah, this was a decent match. This was. I really enjoyed it. I love both tag teams that are in the ring. You know, I like Demolition. I like the Hart Foundation, obviously. Bret the Hitman Hart's one of the best wrestlers to ever lace up some boots.
Yeah, there was a lot of good spots in this match. It was a fun match. They played on the whole keeping Bret Hart away from the corner, not letting him tag into Jim the Anvil Neidhart. He sold those moves very well. And in the end, he finally got Jim the Anvil Neidhart tagged in, but eventually, somehow, I mean, it was happening kind of fast. They tagged back and forth a few times. But Bret the Hitman Hart got hit in the back of the head with a megaphone after Jimmy Hart tossed it into Axe. Axe decides to hit Bret over the head, and they had to cheat to win and retain the WWF Tag Team Championships. But this was a very good match. I thought this was a well-worked match. It had absolute legends in the ring, so this was a good one.
It sounds like you had a problem Jimmy Hart just noticed that he forgot his megaphone and was just trying to return it. I don't understand why you're giving me these looks like there's an issue with that. He just was like, hey, Axe or Smash, I don't remember which one was in the ring at the time.
Axe used the megaphone, but he wasn't the legal man. Smash is the one that was in the ring. He was about to get pile-drived by Bret Hart, and Smash ended up getting the pin 1, 2, 3 after the megaphone.
Yeah. Axe just, he forgot it. Jimmy Hart was just trying to give it back to him. You know what I'm saying? It's what it was.
Nah, they had to cheat to win, but it was up until that, little moment.
I didn't see any cheating at all.
Yeah, they had to cheat to win.
I mean, he just smashed him with it. It's okay.
Okay, well, agree to disagree. But like I said, this was a good match. Probably, I'd say the best tag match of the night so far. Definitely.
Definitely.
So I'd put it probably number 2 of matches of the night. This is a pretty good one.
I would agree.
Okay. So we get Mean Gene Okerlund. He's in the back with the Honky Tonk Man and Jimmy Hart. Honky Tonk Man is basically saying that he never agreed to fight the Ultimate Warrior. He never said he would, and Jimmy Hart's saying we never signed a contract, so he feels that he should still be the Intercontinental Champion, and he says he's going to get his belt back. He's going to get his belt back. So they're throwing a little temper tantrum about what had happened earlier in the night.
Can you blame him? He didn't sign a contract, Rage.
He was earlier talking about how he'll take on anybody. He's the greatest champion of all time. Shake, rattle, and roll. Elvis impression. He was doing all that earlier. So
yeah, but he didn't agree to face a warrior.
Oh.
He agreed to face another competitor, but not a warrior.
Oh, okay. So that matters. Okay,
that matters.
So the next match we get is Coco Beware. And he takes on, for the first time in our podcast that we've seen, the Big Boss Man. So this match was kind of slow at first. I mean, it was okay in the beginning, but it really picked up towards the end and really became kind of an exciting match, kind of an exciting finish. I feel like there was magic in Big Boss Man's belly. Because as soon as the button came loose and you could expose the belly button of the Big Boss Man, I feel like the match really got exciting at that point.
Okay.
It's true. They're wrestling, and for some reason, all of a sudden, the belly got exposed, and I felt that's where the fun really began. Coco Beware started gaining some steam, and there was a lot of exciting parts, but with the belly unexposed, I felt it was kind of a slower match.
So, for you to enjoy this, you needed the Big Boss Man to start stripping.
Well, he didn't strip all the way. It's just his button broke. So you could see his belly flopping around the rest of the match. Huh? So I just felt like there was magic in that belly button.
Uh-huh.
I have rendered Blaze speechless here. So anyhow, Big Boss Man, he gets the win, but that win wasn't good enough for him because he had to get his nightstick and still hit Coco Beware after the match was over.
I don't. Yeah, it was okay. It was a fine match. Words. Yeah, I don't. You take it away. This seems to be your forte, okay?
Anyhow, the Big Boss Belly defeats Coco Beware in a halfway decent match. Like I said, kind of slow in the beginning, picked up towards the end. So that is what we get. And Blaze has nothing to say about this.
I just can't even.
So I feel we should go ahead and move on so maybe Blaze can gather his thoughts.
Why? Just why?
So we get to see the Ultimate Warrior backstage, and he cuts his first promo that we have got to see since doing this podcast, and he gets on the mic all excited, telling the Honky Tonk Man that he's not hard to find, and lightning will bolt down from the sky, and you can take on him and all the little warriors, and he's going to be on the next bus to Parts Unknown or something. This was this is madness. I guess they didn't monitor his microphone skills as well as I thought they did. So I guess WCW didn't do nothing bad. This is just the Warrior.
This was only slightly less crazy than your magic belly button theory. This was rough.
This is your childhood hero.
Number one, he keeps talking about Parts Unknown like it's a place and not just, we don't know where he's from. No, it's a magical place called Parts Unknown. Like, what? And he's going to take a spaceship. Warrior alludes that he is a freaking alien. What is going on?
He seems excited to win the Intercontinental Championship. The funny thing I found about that promo is he told Honky Tonk Man he wasn't hard to find, but he's from Parts Unknown.
Which is a place, apparently. It is a place. It's like Smurf Village. What?
This will be fun to hear him talk some more in later episodes of our podcast, because you can honestly see Blaze's childhood just crushing right in front of your eyes.
I mean, he's an alien? Is my childhood hero an alien that burst out of Big Boss Man's magical belly button? I mean, I don't know. Nothing makes sense anymore.
Okay, so let's go on to the next match. Okay, so the next match we have is Hercules versus Jake the Snake Roberts. And this was kind of a slow match. I thought it was just a lot of the whole either submission or working on one part of the body. And it was mostly Hercules just putting pain on Jake the Snake Roberts. He didn't get a lot of moves into this, but then towards the end he was able to reverse a body slam into the DDT and win the match with that one move, 1, 2, 3. But really this was all Hercules mostly in this match until Jake the Snake hit that DDT at the end. And then, of course, he celebrates by throwing Damien on top of Hercules and let Damien slither all over him and everything. So, but for the most part, this was kind of a slow, one of them type of matches that it was just, submission move or working on a body part. It was one of them.
This is becoming too much. Now we got a deity in the ring. Aliens, deities, magical belly buttons. This is getting crazy.
Yeah, this is a strange time in the WWF when you have Greek gods and warriors from space.
We get rematches from thousands of years ago, Hercules versus the Hydra. I'm sorry, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah, so, I mean, what did you think of the match, though?
You're right. It was kind of slow. There was a lot of headlocks, a lot of sleeper holds. It wasn't a bad match. It was, I like I like matches that, focus on, more technical and...
It just didn't seem to be a lot of big spots.
Yeah, no
real big moves, and even when Jake the Snake reversed the move and hit the DDT, it just seemed like that's all he did. I think he had a body slam earlier in the match, but other than that, there wasn't a lot of offense for Jake the Snake. Then he comes out with the win. It was just kind of a odd way to
It was also
to do
weird
the match.
because I think we were both expecting Ravishing Rick Rude to show up.
This is true.
And
We expected that kind of tit for tat situation where Jake came out and interrupted Rude, so Rude, you would think, would come out and interrupt Jake, but that's not what happened.
Yeah, we didn't see Ravishing Rick Rude at all. I was kind of hoping for him.
Okay, so before we move into the main event, we get a video package full of highlights of what has been going on the past several weeks on WWF Superstars and the build-up to this match. So we see Macho Man Randy Savage. Apparently he's getting attacked by Andre the Giant and Ted DiBiase while Virgil's holding Miss Elizabeth back. He issues a challenge to the two of them, says he'll name himself a partner, and then of course that partner becomes Hulk Hogan, and the Mega Powers are formed. And so then we also get to see what they were alluding to earlier in Jesse the Body Ventura's promo, where Jesse the Body Ventura is handed cash by Ted DiBiase, and he keeps shoving what looked to be $100 bills in Jesse the Body Ventura's coat pocket, so, or whatever you call it. I don't know if you call it a coat, but you know what I mean. It's a little flashy jacket he was wearing. And so we get to see this build up to this match.
Yeah, good build up. It's really the most we've gotten out of the entire show of like build ups. Like they haven't really shown us what's happened before any of these matches, any of the build ups to these matches. They really haven't done much of showing us what happened other than this main event.
Yeah, so this is something that's kind of a normal thing. At almost every pay-per-view, you get these video packages that really show you the build-up of each match. And usually you get that on the majority of most of the matches at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Where on this show, you just get the one build-up to the main event.
Which is weird because there's been quite a few matches where obviously something's been going on and we don't know.
Well, the strange thing is, and still what I'd like to point out is this is SummerSlam, and granted, this is the first SummerSlam. They might not realize this is going to become one of their big 4 pay-per-views, but the weird thing to me is that you have matches between, like, Ravishing Rick Rude and JYD, and then you've got, obviously, a feud going on between Jake the Snake Roberts and Ravishing Rick Rude. So it's just kind of odd that they're not meeting at SummerSlam. So there was a lot of that. I felt that it was just kind of odd.
Well, like you said, they might not have realized how big they were going to have SummerSlam every year. And this could be a simple matter of throughout the last couple weeks, little things like this have been happening and that just continued during the SummerSlam, and they just haven't got to the boiling point for. In fact, after the SummerSlam, I'm guessing we're getting to the boiling point of their feud. So they probably will have a match here soon.
Hopefully we get to see that maybe at Survivor Series, which would be the next pay-per-view we would be covering. Yeah. So maybe we'll get something along those lines.
Which, actually, this has probably started with WrestleMania. Because they faced off. Rick Rude and Jake the Snake. Weren't they the double count-out? The time expired during the first round of the tournament?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It was Jake the Snake and Rick Rude. So this is just, I believe, a continuation of that match.
Fair enough. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So let's go ahead and move on to our main event of the night. Okay, so before we get into our main event, we end up getting this video package, giving us a little bit of a story detail on what's been going on leading up to this match. So you get to see how they try to bribe Jesse the Body Ventura and just everything that's been going on.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this match, or I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So then we get entrances with, like you pointed out while we were watching it, no music. We still don't have the $1 Million Man's theme music playing.
And I believe we've gotten music for almost every wrestler on this SummerSlam, but for some reason...
Or at least the ones that came down the aisle.
Some of them
were just standing in the ring.
Which that still happens in wrestling. They'll have someone in the ring, and, they're already in the ring. They won't have their entrance. But in this SummerSlam, I believe almost everybody that's come down the aisle has had music, but for some reason, the Mega Bucks, Andre the Giant and $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, do not, in the main event, do not come down to music.
And they're accompanied by Bobby the Brain Heenan and Virgil. So then we do get music for the Mega Powers with Miss Elizabeth, but it's actually Macho Man's music, not Hogan's, which surprised me. And I guess it makes sense. He was the WWE Heavyweight Champion at the time of this match, so it kind of makes sense. But it was just weird to see Hogan coming down the aisle. And I'd like to point out he had all this energy, kind of shaking his head, shaking his hand, and it didn't really match the slower paced music of the Macho Man Randy Savage, his music. So, it's like he did what he does.
I believe that's called Pomp and Circumstance, that song.
Okay, so you know the name of the song?
Yeah, well, it's a very famous song. It's not like... It's a song that's been used in movies, and I believe at graduations a lot back in the day.
Is that the graduation theme?
I think so.
Do you know that for a fact?
I don't know that for a fact.
It does sound like that, but I've never really put it together as if it's the exact same song.
I know I've at least seen a movie in the 80s that used that song for a graduation scene.
Okay. Well, we will not confirm or deny this, but it just
But I do believe the song's called Pomp and Circumstance.
Okay, well, we'll have to Google that. Maybe Google that while we're talking.
I'm going to right now.
Because I couldn't tell you the name of the song. I just know that it was kind of a little funny to see Hogan trying to move to that. Because he was still doing his energetic entrance that he does with his song, but that song's not really that type of song for him to be doing that. So it was just kind of funny. So then moving on to the match, before the match starts, which we have Jesse the Body Ventura as a special guest referee, he starts moving ropes around from the turnbuckles. He actually moved the corners. Now, I don't know what the purpose behind this. I thought there was going to be something a little bit more detailed and informant on what was going on, but he just basically, there's a string that, like a rope that hangs from the turnbuckle, not really the turnbuckle, but the post, and he ends up moving it to another corner for both teams, and he just changes the corners in which they were supposed to be in opposite directions. Never really got a explanation. The only thing I can think of for the purpose of that in the match was for Hogan to kind of get in Jesse's face, and Jesse kind of point at him, say, "Back up! I'm Jesse the Body Ventura. I'm the referee." So it was kind of neat to see them kind of have a little nose to nose and a finger pointing moment before the match even began. Keep in mind the storyline was that maybe $1 Million Man, he did offer him money, but what's Jesse going to do, with the fact that he was offered the money before the match even began. So it was kind of a moment of tension, but other than the moment of tension, did you really see a point in why they changed their corners? Unless maybe Vince McMahon came over
I don't know.
Maybe Vince McMahon came over the speaker and said, "Hey, you guys need to change the corner. The camera's not getting you properly," or something. I don't know. It was kind of a weird moment before the match. So the match starts, and it was kind of It was slow at first. I'll say that. It was kind of slow at first. It had a few little moments at the beginning, but it didn't really pick up much. And then you had it felt like at least 5 minutes of sleeper holds. You had Andre the Giant choking Hogan with his singlet. And then you had $1 Million Man giving him the sleeper hold. And then, of course, after about 5 minutes of no oxygen, I suppose, Hogan hawks up, and then the match starts getting really exciting from there. So the match didn't start until almost halfway through the match, because I just felt like it was kind of a slow-paced beginning. But then it really kind of picked up. We had a lot of fun moments. $1 Million Man doing what he does best, selling moves like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
We got a little bit more high energy going on with Macho Man kind of running around and Hogan doing his thing. Had a lot of really fun spots. And then there was a moment that Hogan and Macho Man got beat up and outside the ring. And Miss Elizabeth comes up onto the apron.
Just tears her dress off.
I mean, we're seeing, her features and everything, on the blower area. And she, kind of does this to distract everybody. And everybody. I mean, we're talking Andre, $1 Million Man, Jesse the Body Ventura, Bobby the Brain Heenan. They're all just kind of staring at her like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a woman's body before. It's like very distracting.
Like these famous muscle-bound, well, not Andre, but muscle-bound men.
These
have never
famous
seen
wrestlers.
a beautiful woman it wasn't even like she was wearing a thong or anything.
No,
she was
it was like a swimsuit bottom.
Yeah, like a swimsuit bottom. But she is an attractive woman. So sure.
So of course Hogan and Savage, they take advantage of the distraction and really gave a really fun ending to this match.
Yeah, it very fun.
So the match is over. Savage, I really liked it at the very, very end. $1 Million Man. Well, before that, Andre really sold a move and fell out of the ring.
Yeah, fell out of the ring. It's one of the more impressive things I've seen from Andre.
Very, very agile looking for Andre for this time frame of his career.
Unfortunately, him having Macho Man in this corner of the ropes and doing those, shoulder blocks just looks so weak. For such a big guy, they just did not look like they had any power to him whatsoever.
Well, I mean, the whole idea is he's so big that's supposed to be devastating.
I mean, him squeezing up against him, like his back up against him, I mean, that seemed to work well, but those shoulder blocks, he put no oomph in it.
Well, Andre, at this point in his career, he was...
And
I watched
it's sad that we don't get to see him in his prime,
You should really watch the HBO documentary on Andre the Giant and really, gain some more respect for him because it's an amazing documentary. I loved watching it. Sat here and watched it with my wife, and I think you would get a little bit more appreciation for Andre the Giant if you'd sit and watch it.
I love Andre the Giant, but
you don't sound like it.
I am covering these, and I'm not going to just ignore things like that.
Well, the documentary really kind of explains his
understand he had a lot of
health
bad
issues
health
at the time. Even WrestleMania 3, he was already dealing with these health issues.
And I get that. But knowing that doesn't change what I'm watching.
Okay. Well, regardless, so Andre takes a tumble out of the ring, which was one of the more impressive things we've seen him do since covering the show. And then we have $1 Million Man laying flat on the middle of the ring, and Hogan did something kind of cool. He stuck his boot almost pretty much on DiBiase's neck.
Yes, he did.
And while he allowed Macho Man to get up on the top ropes and do the flying elbow, And I mean, this was a far one too. He wasn't really dead center. He was more towards, I say, if you're watching on screen, towards the left of the ring. And that was a far elbow drop. That was a pretty long trip he took. So it was a really, really great elbow drop. And of course, Hogan moves his boot in time for him to do the drop. And he ends up getting the pin 1, 2, 3.
Well, no. Hogan does the leg drop right afterwards.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. So Hogan, it was a
team finishers, and then
I forgot.
Hogan got the pin, not Macho Man. Hogan was the legal man.
My bad. Yeah, you're right. Hogan did do a leg drop out. So he got double finishers, boom, boom, and then 1, 2, 3.
Back to back.
That was the end of the match. And so the end of the match, and we're still not done talking about this because the end of the match could have been just that, but they gave it a little extra because Jesse the Body Ventura almost looked reluctant to go down and do the pin.
Hesitates on the third.
So then Macho Man kind of almost pushes him down, saying, "You're gonna do this."
He literally. Oh, okay.
So he kind of pushes him down. I don't know if you noticed. He pushes him down, and he counts to 2, and then leaves his arm up for 3, like he didn't want to do it. And Macho Man grabbed his arm and slammed it down to the mat to do the 3, 1, 2, 3, and then instead of Macho Man's music, this time at the end of the match we get Hogan's music.
We still got Hogan, and we still got posing for about 10 minutes.
And but he added Macho Man to the posing.
Yeah. There was some more. Yeah, both of them were posing.
So there was a little bit more pandering to the crowd, and that's what Hogan does best. So the show ends in about 45 minutes after the match is over because he's celebrating. I'm exaggerating, of course. So, but one thing that happened during the celebration that we kind of wanted to point out while we were watching this is Hogan hugged and kind of lifted Miss Elizabeth up. And Macho Man was looking at the crowd, pandering to the crowd, and turned around and saw this. And I don't know if this was meant to cause tension, because we know they're about to battle at WrestleMania 5 is what we're about to watch. We've got a Survivor Series to cover, and then we've got a WrestleMania 5 we're going to cover. Mm-hmm. So we know
we got Survivor Series and then another Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I'm sorry. Survivor Series, 5. Royal Rumble, and then WrestleMania 5. So I'm not 100% sure when that storyline starts up, where
I feel like
the Mega Powers explode in WrestleMania 5. But there was a moment that Macho Man legitimately did not look happy. And we thought maybe this was going to cause the friction and start the feud.
Well, traditionally...
But instead, they both celebrated for quite a while after that moment. But there was definitely a brief moment where I don't think the real Macho Man... I mean, we're talking the real, guy, which would be Randy Poffo. Randy Poffo did not look happy.
Yeah, I still think it was as more of a storyline.
So you think this was
kind of
part
like
of
the
it,
starting of it, and starting because I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that their breakup is because of jealousy from Macho Man. Because obviously Macho Man's going to be the heel, so I believe it was jealousy from Macho Man with Miss Elizabeth doing stuff. I think this was like starting a seed for dissension and
it might have been, but they didn't play on it on this night.
No, but he gave that look.
So it did make you wonder how real that moment was. Because it felt...
Then Hulk Hogan kind of puts his hand on her ass when Macho Man lifts her up on his shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, lower back.
Yeah, so it definitely felt a little bit like a real reaction. Once again, we were probably watching it this time, but we were young, and I don't know when that feud's going to begin. I just know that feud does happen. So it just kind of makes you wonder how much of it. Well, let's put it this way: if we keep watching, more pay-per-views, and they show that moment in the clip of before they wrestle at WrestleMania 5, then maybe we'll have our answer. Yeah. That was a part of the storyline. But if they never show this again while leading up to that match, it almost makes you wonder if that was a real moment.
I mean, it's possible.
Kayfabe might have been broken for about 5 seconds, because you could see it in the face like, what the hell, dude?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it was setting up, but you might be right. Now, to also talk about more of me being right, Pomp and Circumstance is absolutely the name. Actually, the full name, Pomp and Circumstance, or not the full name, but added on. It is the Graduation March, Walking March. It's the song they used to play. I don't know if they do it nowadays. It's the song they used to play at graduations when the graduates walk down the aisle to get their diploma. It is absolutely associated with graduations. It didn't originally start that way. I mean, this song is from 1901 by Sir Edward Elgar, and it was originally a march used for the coronation of King Edward VII in 1901. So that's what it was originally intended for. Then they started using it a lot at graduations.
And this is one and the same song we listened to.
Pomp and Circumstance, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I've never put two and two together that they're the same thing.
I watch a lot of, I believe it was, if you watch a lot of like 80s movies back in the day, it was very popular. Like if they had a movie where the kids are graduating in the movie, they always play Pomp and Circumstance. Yeah.
I'll be darned. Well, Okay, so, all right, so now I think we're going to finish this up and go to our best and worst matches.
Yeah, let's get to that.
Favorite match of the night. Okay, so favorite match of the night. I'm kind of torn on this one. I've kind of bounced it back and forth, but I went ahead and gave it to the main event. The main event, the Mega Powers, Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, versus the Mega Bucks, Andre the Giant and $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. I almost went with the Rick Rude match, but I felt like this had a really fun ending. Very, it was a fun match. There was a little bit of a slow period, but I just thought the magnitude of the match, also the fact that this match ended in a legitimate pin and not a disqualification, kind of helped make me lean towards this match as my favorite match of the night, just because there was a conclusion, where in the other match that I was thinking there wasn't quite a conclusion, but it was maybe not matches, but it was one of the best moments in wrestling. It was amazing. I loved the Rick Rude situation, but I'm going to give it to Hogan and Savage on this night.
Now I actually personally, I find the Hogan, this is the best thing we've watched with Hogan and Andre the Giant. This is by far the best thing that we've watched, best match, best anything that they've been in. This is the best. This was a lot of fun. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do, in my opinion, with Honky Tonk Man selling moves, and he does it great. It had a good story. It didn't have that dumb finish that the the tournament had in the last WrestleMania we watched, where they freaking got both disqualified. It didn't have that dumb ending. It had a good ending. I loved Jesse the Body Ventura hesitating for the pin and Macho Man slamming his hand down. Like, it had a good story.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was a good match. There was some fun spots. I loved the elbow drop, and then right afterwards the leg drop. I loved the ending. There was a lot of good in this match. Even with my gripes. However, My favorite match of the night is the Rick Rude versus the JYD Junkyard Dog. I just felt like it also told a really fun story, and it just showed me how great of a heel Ravishing Rick Rude is. The putting Jake the Snake's wife on his dick, putting Junkyard Dog on his dick. I mean, that is just savagery at its best. It was a good match too. It was a good match, good story, fun moments. It was my favorite of this SummerSlam. It was by far my favorite.
I loved it too. You can only pick one. I chose to pick the higher magnitude and the one that actually had a conclusion with the pin. Even though there's really no other way a match could end when a man reveals another man's wife on his pants. I guess there's no other way to end the match, but then to have that man come out and cause the disqualification, which gives him the win.
But see, in my opinion, that is, yes, it's not a normal finish or whatever, but that finish makes sense.
Oh yeah,
that
definitely
finish
makes sense. I'm not
fits the story, fits the match, fits everything. Where we've had a lot of issues with some weird endings.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing the way it ended. I'm more saying that it helped give me a clear-cut answer to this question. Just because there was a finish in the other match. I absolutely loved the Rick Rude match.
I'm not arguing your choice because, in my opinion, I mean, I didn't have to fight as hard to decide which one I wanted to pick because unless this match, that main event, blew me away, I knew that Ravishing Rick Rude versus JYD match was going to be at the top of my list, and I was going to need something special to overcome it, and that main event actually came close. It was a fun match. It had good story. I liked it.
Very good ending.
It came close, but it just wasn't enough to change my opinion on the best match of the night.
Is it fair enough to say I liked Miss Elizabeth's reveal better than Rick Rude's reveal?
You perverted bastard.
I mean, both matches had reveals, right?
I mean, fair.
Which reveal did you like better? And I just, of course, you go with the man on the dick.
Woman on a dick.
There was a man first.
I mean, sure.
Okay, so.
Okay, let's. Worst match of the night.
Okay, so the worst match of the night, I think, is going to be an easy one, and I think we're probably going to agree on this. It was definitely Bad News Brown versus Ken Patera.
I disagree. I think it was the Mega Powers versus the Nah, I'm just kidding. It was absolutely Ken Patera versus Bad News Brown.
Yeah, there was just way too many mistakes.
Botches, boring, terrible.
It was not a good match at all. It was kind of cringeworthy, to be honest.
This match could very potentially be in my on my other podcast, my PWA WTF Hall of Fame. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, I didn't care for this one, so I don't know how much we want to talk about it. If you want to more elaborate, it just was a sloppy match. It just did not work, and it definitely did not give us high hopes for the rest of the show. This was the second match of the night, and the first match of the night wasn't bad, but it wasn't. Didn't really feel like we were going to watch something special today.
As we kind of mentioned in the last podcast, last episode. This had two very good bright spots: the main event and Junkyard Dog versus Rick Rude. But other than that, this was not a very good Survivor Series, in my opinion. Or not Survivor Series. Sorry. SummerSlam. This was not a very good SummerSlam, in my opinion. There was not a lot of good stuff in the show. This was just over the top, the worst. And it was just... It looked like these guys were plucked off the street and didn't know what the hell they were doing. I remember they tried to throw one of them in the corner, and they accidentally threw them into the ropes instead of the corner. I mean, there was just so many botches, so much bad to that match. It just was not good.
Yeah, those two just did not work well together at all. Because, I mean, we've seen Bad News Brown in the past already on this podcast. We have not seen Kemptera, but we've never seen Bad News Brown look that bad. I mean he's never really bad, so. He's never really been a bright and shining moment of the shows, but he's never been the reason you wouldn't want to watch it. You know what I mean?
He's been forgettable in this
match. But he hasn't been bad.
I don't know if he was the bad one in this one either. I feel like it might have been more of Ken Patera, if I remember right.
It very well could have been.
Yeah, he wasn't something to write home about.
Oh, definitely not.
If I was Bad News Brown, I wouldn't have told my mom about this match.
No.
Yeah, just skip that one, Mom. Are you in it? No.
No.
Nope, no idea what you're talking about.
Yep, just skip Survivor Series 88.
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe, we can't really rank the...
Oh, this is my worst
SummerSlam 88, I'm sorry. This kind of... We can't rank the SummerSlam, so is this your best or worst?
Oh, this is the worst.
Oh, this is my best. So
okay, we can stop making that joke now, because now, after this show, we will now be on the second of all of these.
Oh, yeah, so we will get to start ranking all of the shows. A matter of fact, the next show we're going to do is Survivor Series 1988, and we will get to rank that. So from now on, it'll be ranking everything, unless it's a special episode that we decide.
Yeah.
Like, I believe...
Unless we do, like, the main event, or...
Well, I know we talked about doing King of the Ring, Undertaker, Mankind, the Hell in a Cell match, stuff like that. We've talked about doing stuff like that maybe down the road, and we'll pick and choose and see when it's appropriate to do a special episode. So that's going to finish it off for our SummerSlam 88 episode. Like I said, it had its ups and downs. It had some really good moments.
The two matches that were really good were really good. Unfortunately, the rest was kind of eh.
I mean, I don't think a lot of them were bad. They just wasn't spectacular, pay-per-view worthy, I suppose would be the way to say it. It does kind of make you wonder. I've never seen that moment with Rick Rude before, and it just makes you wonder why isn't that replayed over and over and over and over again on WWE today?
I mean, maybe they didn't want to showcase, okay, this is a guy being super dickish here.
I guess, but it's just kind of one of them moments that, you see historical moments in WWE from WWF that get replayed almost all the time, that even if you wasn't around then or didn't watch wrestling back then, it's almost like there's several moments just enshrined in history that they show you. NFL does the exact same thing. There's certain moments in NFL history that you constantly see replayed even to this day when they talk about certain things. And it's just kind of funny that this isn't one of them, because I think that was one of the funniest, best moments in wrestling that I've ever seen. That was awesome.
I agree. I think the only way I can point out with that is maybe it was just a matter of Rick Rude is not considered one of the biggest names in wrestling.
You shut your mouth.
I'm
mouth.
Really liking Rick Rude.
I love Ravishing Rick Rude.
But I don't think he was... I mean, he's not your Hogan. He's not your Macho Man. He's not your Andre the Giant. I don't know if he's ever really even main evented or been the world champion. He's one of your really good mid-carders, but I don't know if he really hit that stride. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess I can see where you're going with that, but it's kind of odd. I also know Rick Rude kind of had a falling out with the WWF.
That could be very much part of it.
He was not very happy with the Montreal Screwjob, and he literally left immediately after it happened. Little fun fact, he is the only man in WWF/WCW history to appear on Monday Night Raw and Monday Nitro on the exact same night. Did you know that?
I did because of your facts every day.
Because of my history of wrestling?
History of wrestling, yeah.
Yes, so Rick Rude, yes, he ended up on both shows because at the time Monday Night Raw was taped, which I know lately it has been too, but I think we're going back to live.
We're going back to live,
starting
with
with
SmackDown.
With the Thunderdome.
Thunderdome!
Can't wait for the Thunderdome.
I actually just tried to be in the audience for the Thunderdome.
You didn't get it?
No, they said it was already full.
Oh, it's already full?
Yeah, I tried. They had something on Twitter where you could sign up to try to get in the audience for SmackDown. And I filled out the question, or filled out the sheet or whatever it was on the internet, and they said sorry, maybe try for a later date, but they said that it was already at full capacity. So
did you have to show a picture of yourself?
No, not yet. Maybe if it wasn't full,
they might have Googled you. So
anyhow,
sure. So. But yeah, it was kind of cool because Nitro was live and Monday Night Raw was taped, and he ended up on both programs. That's kind of a neat little history thing, I thought, So, all right, well, I think that's going to do us for SummerSlam 88. We will see you at Survivor Series 1988, and I have been Rage,
and I have been Blaze.
Would you like to redo that?
No, it's fine. You have been Rage, I guess. So, now I have been Blaze.
I'm Rage!
And I'm Blaze!
This is Good Night from Rage's Pit!
Night, everybody!
And here is your winners, and still podcast tag team champions of the world,
The Rage and Blaze Show.
Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, this is Blaze from the Rage and Blaze and the Boomer and Blaze Show. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more wrestling content.